evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another Visionary Readers meeting. So, as we said earlier, this means that we are at the end of the month, or very close to the end of the month, very close to payday. Yes, thank goodness. So we're very happy about that. Ladies and gentlemen, I've asked to, or volunteered to be your MC for this evening. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you, Sibungiseni, for the honor to be the MC. And we'll kick off straight away. We won't do any introductions. It's all about the books. It's all about people presenting those books. So we'll do that, and then we'll have a session for some questions right after each of the book review. If there are no questions, just keep your question to the end then, if you think of something else, and then whatever time we have left at the end, we'll spend for some questions. Otherwise, just for some introductions and maybe just some friendly banter to make up the hour. It seems like we have quite a few people on. So we've got 14 participants on the meeting at the moment. That is very, very good news. And we'll kick off straight away with our first speaker, someone that has said that for the last 2 months, I want to do a book review. I want to do a book review. And he's smiling. He's a very good smile there. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Vuyi Vuthela. And he will be reviewing the book, Finding Peace, Letting Go, and Liking It by Paula Peisner. If maybe you can help with that pronunciation. But ladies and gentlemen, Vuyi Vuthela, Finding Peace, Letting Go, and Liking It. You've got 5 minutes, Vuyi.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As introduced, my name is Vuyi Vuthela, and I'll be reviewing this book, Finding Peace, Liking It, and Letting Go and Liking It. Well, the book itself, it's a very easy read book for a lazy reader as myself. It is written by Paula Peisner Coxe. The book is segmented into 3 parts. The you of yesterday, the you of today, and the you of tomorrow. The author tried to capture on these 3 different elements, that the you of yesterday is some elements of your past that you need to deal with and to let go. And she says you need to come to terms that your past, it made you who you are today. And then the you of today, she says you seize the moment and live your life today to the fullest. And the you of tomorrow, it's what are you doing today to have a better tomorrow? What do you want to do to be a better self for tomorrow? She goes on, she highlights that we seek a place, and that place is called a peace of mind. But all that peace of mind has to come with some forgiveness that one has to do, and some acceptance and understanding that everything happens for a reason. She says here, still holding on to the past will not help you anyway. The sun cannot shine while the dark clouds are still hanging over you. So you need to make peace and allow those dark clouds to move so that the bright sun can shine with its rays. I like to highlight 3 parts that I think was outstanding for me in the you of yesterday. She touches on the childhood, the parenting, and the forgiveness. On the childhood, she says, we have emotional scars and that are living in our hearts, and we're holding grudges of the past. And it is time that we let go of whatever happened in our childhood. She says we forgive and we make space for the present. Now, when coming to parenting, she says there is no perfection in parenting, and we need to understand that our parents did everything that they thought was best to raise us to be who we are today. But you can write a list of mistakes that you thought that your parents did. It is your opportunity now as a parent or future parent to correct what you thought a better parent will look like. But he says in that parenting, you need to apply love, kindness, understanding, correction to your children, and allow them to make mistakes, allow them to be children, and also allow them to grow wings so that they can soar and learn this life. In this last chapter, she talks about forgiveness. She says, forgiveness is divine. She says, finding peace of mind begins with forgiving yourself, forgiving those who are around you, and forgiving your past.
2 minutes.
And like I said, she says, you need to let go of those dark clouds so that the sun can come through. I think for me, she also captures that you are here for a purpose and for a reason, and you need to find that purpose from the you of yesterday, the you of today, and the you of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vuyi. Everyone, I think you should give Vuyi a big round of applause for that book review. That was right on time as well. You actually finished a little bit early, Vuyi. Thank you very much. Yeah, so if you want to enable your video, everyone, we can give him a round of applause. Yeah, Vuyi, some very interesting topics that the lady has covered in that book. Let's find out from our audience if there are any questions. If you do have a question for Vuyi, please enable your video and please ask him your question.
Okay, can I ask?
Maybe, oh yeah, sure, Sibo.
Let's go first with Simugiseni. We'll come back to Danie.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Vuyi, I was more curious about the part about forgiveness. I just wanted to understand, before you read this book, how was your concept of forgiveness changed, or the perspective of forgiveness changed after reading this book? How do you view forgiveness now?
All right. So she highlights that sometimes we just take forgiveness easily to say, you did me wrong and I just forgive and forget. But to highlight the part where you say, Sibongiseni, I did wrong. I specifically spoke bad against you, or I assassinated your character. Label it. When you label it, you know what are you forgiving. She says that mostly we tend to cover our past and we don't want to face it by, it's okay, it's a past, I forgive you. But later on, you bounce back and you realize that you actually did not deal with it. You did not unpack that part that hurt you and to understand before you can actually forgive. So I think for me, that's an element of learning that I need to highlight and then bring it almost like emotional intelligence to say, what is it that I'm forgiving? And do I understand how did it make me feel?
Thank you very much. And thanks also, Simon Gustini, for your question there. Danie, if you're ready with your question, please.
Yeah, I think Sibu actually asked so similar to my question. I think it's okay.
Great. Yeah. Any other questions from the floor? Let's just take one more question and then we can go on to the next speaker. You can raise your hand if you want, and then we can enable. Irene Downer, good to see you. Please do ask your question.
It's not so much a question as a statement, which would cover the whole world, but particularly the African continent, and of course South Africa, with our recent history, from one dispensation of pre-1994 to where we are now. A lot of the world's problems are people not seeing the bigger picture and allowing past wrongs to hold them back. That we don't allow ourselves to accept that something has happened, that we must learn from the past and we must move on. And we move on so that we can get on with our lives and make things better. And it is a kind of forgiveness of saying, listen, I perhaps cannot always accept the things that were done, but we must not repeat them and move on. That is a form of forgiveness. And we need to do that. And it's one of the biggest problems of the world today, particularly in South Africa as well. We become victims of the ills of the past without moving on learning from those mistakes, that we do not repeat it.
Thanks.
Truly, it's a marvelous thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the comment, Irene. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you still have a question, maybe make a note of it, and then at the end of the session, whatever time we have left after the introductions, we can ask Vuyi some questions. Vuyi, once again, thank you very much for that. I really also, what stood out for me was the fact that we should just let children be children. I think these days we have children growing up too fast, that they get exposed to things they shouldn't be.
Yes.
But we as parents, or we as elders, can have an influence on them and maybe just let them be children a little bit more. Thank you very much, Vuyi, for your input.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next speaker, and that is Ziphozintle Khoza, reviewing the book titled Lean In by Sherly Sandberg. So please help me welcome Ziphozintle Khoza, reviewing the book Lean In.
As already said, I'll be reviewing the book Lean In by Sherly Sandberg. I'm not sure if everyone can see the cover of the book. Yes, so this book, it's basically one of those books that you can judge by its cover. So what it says, it's the content that I got from reading it. It focuses more on women work and the will to lead. So I mean, the title of the book and the content that I got from reading it, it's very much aligned. And the reader, Sherly herself, she's the current CEO of Facebook, and she's been the CEO since 2008 to date, and currently on a podcast. I saw that she's named one of the powerful women in business. And so for me, that was impressive, because when I read the book, or felt the need to want to read the book, I needed to understand where is the lack for women in leadership. Why don't we have a lot of women in business and in corporate and all of that? So in one of the podcasts, I remember she gave the reasons why she wrote the book, which is essentially to inspire women and to inspire them to take on more leadership roles and to dream big and achieve their goals. And in reading the book myself, what I got from it was, I just felt like the book is reflecting more on the ever-present gender inequalities in the workplace overall. And it addresses a lot of contributing factors to that. And when I speak about the gender inequalities, sometimes we just think about more men in managerial roles and more men being CEOs. But in this book, she breaks it down to the pay scales. She breaks it down to misrepresentation of the organization as well. She breaks it down to a lot more deeper context that we just think the struggles that women are having in corporate is just not being in managerial positions. But I remember there's a part in a book that intrigued me so much when she mentioned that even the needs of the woman that they have, for instance, in this case, when a woman is pregnant, when a woman is going on a period. So it addresses a lot of factors that are not being addressed in the workspace, whereas more of men's needs are addressed more than those for the women. So I just made a bit of a summary on what I got from this book. It's a lot for a woman that is aspiring to be in a leadership role and being in business. It's such a good book because it addresses some of the things that women are afraid to speak about, or women that they feel if they were to aspire to be in leadership roles, how would they approach this aspect of their life? How would they approach being having so much responsibilities in the house? How would they manage their personal life and their professional lives all together, and both of them make them work? So she's very open about those challenges that women have even before they are exposed to that space. So
1.5 minutes left.
Okay, so these are the 5 things that I took from the book. I'll just go through the items. The one thing was just that women should have a seat at the table, that women should just define for themselves that what is it that they would achieve, what is it that they would do if they were not afraid, and just to also be inspired that as a woman, it's not everyone that's gonna like you, because this is a practical thing that we experience, that when men achieve something at the workplace, everyone celebrates them, but women finds more, a lot of negative feedback, but women should be okay with that and understand that it's what it comes with. And also just being about empowering other women as well, that being in that leadership role doesn't mean it's only self-serving, but it goes beyond you being in that space. It goes beyond just serving you, but also empowering other women, and just make sure you have the right partner as well. For me, that was very important, because it goes back to saying that even our personal space needs to be supported in order for us to flourish in our professional space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ziphozintle. That was on time as well. So I think that was very, very well done. And thank you for sharing everything with us. Let's open the floor to 1 or 2 questions. So if you would like to ask Ziphozintle a question, please activate your video, and then we can ask her a question.
Yes. Sipho, I just want to check, does she maybe in the book elaborate how we can balance the life as a woman in the kitchen or in a home and a woman in the office? Does she capture that? And also how that maybe women in power can also be a challenge for men, because we used to be the big guns around, and now all of a sudden when the big woman is now having a seat at the table, it's like, why is she doing here? Who's taking care of the children while she's here?
Thank you, Vuyi, for a question. Yes, of course, she addresses those stereotypes, and she addresses it as, that's what I liked about her in this book, that she doesn't only address these challenges to the woman, but also to the man, that they need to be very accommodative of the woman, so that if you're a partner and you have a woman in your house, you need to be supportive. That's why one of the four things that I took from the book was that a woman needs to have a right partner that will be supportive. This goes to sharing responsibilities in the house, that the woman is not the one who's doing the house chores, but the man as well just helps in that area. So even in the workspace, she challenges the stereotypes to say, because this one is a woman, she mustn't be subjected to the fact that she's a woman, but be treated equally. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vuyi, for the question. Thank you, Ziphozintle, for answering that. Anyone else, if you've got a question, let's keep it to the end. We will now continue to the next speaker. Thank you, Zipho. You are welcome to switch off your video if you would like. So maybe let's continue to the next speaker. I hope that's it. Fine with everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Munya Dongo, reviewing his own book, No More Excuses. No More Excuses. So Munya Dongo will be reviewing his book. I'm very happy to hear what he has to say. Thank you, Munya.
Okay, so let me just type up that I can see my timer. Okay, cool. So today I'm reviewing this book, No More Excuses for Me. It was written by another guy called Munya Dongo, aka Mr. M. Dongo. He is an inspirational speaker, business coach, Mr. Automator, and a normal excuse guy. So, so what caught my attention in this book is the title first. No more excuses for me. It's not saying no more excuses for you. So the fact that you are holding the book is actually personalizing the affirmation, the title of the thing, saying no more excuses for me. And also the writing style in this book, that's also one thing that fascinates me, because you can also see that the likes of law, kiki, you can also see it there, and hate. You can also see there. So it's like a conversation of somebody who is actually speaking with a very simple language as well. And my favorite chapters, there are actually two chapters that I love so much. And when I was writing these two chapters, I was actually emotional. I still remember the other day when I was writing it in my office, some tears came, especially chapter 2, that says, do I deserve this? Because in this chapter, I'm actually talking more and more about the challenges I went through as a young person and what I was lacking. And actually, while I'm explaining those challenges, I am also connecting it to life, to everybody's life, and picking up some lessons from those challenges. For example, for example, the beginning of chapter to say that sometimes you find yourself questioning your abilities or your relationship with God when you do not understand what is going on in your life. Well, that has also happened to me. I remember at some point I used to speak very fast and nicely without stammering, and all of a sudden I started to stammer, and actually it became a very big problem, and it was also irritating knowing that not knowing what to do next, right? And then if you keep on going with this, you also see how was other people. How was I being undermined by other people? I still remember that guy sent me a voice note saying that, hey, Munya, you are not worthy, nobody loves you, actually listen to your voice and so on. And it used to irritate me so much to an extent that and then but in the book it's explained that I actually took that and used that as my own motivation. Like every time I'm going to listen to that voice, and quickly that I go on internet and create an event and actually go there and sell a ticket, and people, they were coming and actually buy it there. And then the other thing as well that you are going to find in this book is another topic called MLM, grow through it, not go through it. There are so many people who go through problems, they go through challenges, but they don't grow through those challenges. So in this chapter, I'm actually explaining more and more of my MLM journey and how did I grow through it, and how can you grow through some of the challenges that you might face in both in business, in life, and so on. And then also, in that chapter, there are steps that you need to take. It's like 16 steps that you can also take so that you can deal with your excuses. I did most of them, and they helped me so much. Right now, I am a man I am today because I followed those steps. And then there is also another quote that I just love.
1 minute left.
Excuse can limit you in every area. Okay, thank you. That's a excuse can limit you in every area of your life, trapping you in a cage of your own, the cage that you actually creating on your own. You remember this? There are no excuses, but you are creating these excuses in your own mind and actually create your own box on your own. And then also the conclusion as well of the book is said. On the last part, just before the conclusion, so that I repeat, remember your excuses are only valid to you and not to the other person or to the problem that you actually preventing to solve, or to that thing that you are making an excuse on. So the main theme on the book is no excuse is valid, and also no more excuses for me, no more excuses for you. And the book is more it's more entrepreneurial, because it's actually addressing you in your business life, and actually and more and more on your personal image as well. Because it says no more excuses for me. This is a guide to an excuse-free life. This is Munya. I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Munya. Let's open the floor to some questions. We've got about 2 minutes and 35 seconds left on this call before we'll log back in. So if you would like to ask a question, activate your video and we can ask Munya a question.
Hi, Cornell and everyone. It's Wendy. Let me switch on my camera. I've got my gown on, so never mind that. For me, it's not a question necessarily. It's not a question necessarily. It's a comment. If you can see my screen, I do have a copy of the book. And I must say, just some feedback. I really enjoyed the book, Munya. It was a very practical book, and it forces you to think about all the things that he's written and he's mentioned. And one of the nice chapters for me is chapter 5, the types of excuses we give ourselves. He really hit the nail on the head with that one. He says, we normally like to say, I do not have time, I don't make enough money, I cannot do this because I have kids, I don't know how to do it, I don't have an education. So those are very practical types of excuses that we use not to achieve our goals. So I really found your book refreshing, Munya, and I just want to say thank you for writing it. It's a nice, short, concise book. At first I was thinking, this book is a bit short. Why did he only write, maybe you can tell me why you only wrote 50 pages or 60 pages? but in those 50 pages, it was powerful tips and things to think about. So yes, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. She is very short and you can read. You see, she has got nice words that are big so that you can consume it as soon as possible. Yeah.
Thank you, Munya. Thank you, Wendy. We do have less than a minute left. Veronica's hand is up. Veronica, if you can get ready for your question. We have 2 speakers left, so we don't want to spend too much time, but Veronica, if you can get ready for your question for Munya, please.
Thank you, Cornell. Okay, my question is, how long did it take you to write the book and what was the most challenging part? Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I love this question. You know what? So what happened is this. I wrote an ebook in 2018 that had about 14 pages. All right, it was just it was actually chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 of the current book, but in brief. Then last year I said, okay, I need to actually release a hard copy of this book. Then I created a landing page. I started marketing the book, and the book started selling before I even put a word. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Munya.
Because I read, when I had a look at the book today, I saw the word coronavirus in there. And I realized back then I didn't know that name. And now it's a household name where we know it very, very well. And this book is about a virus that destroyed 95% of the world population. So it's a post-apocalyptic book. One of the things that I enjoyed, it is South African. So the first scene, the first thing that happens, the first sort of mini climax is in Koffiefontein, for example. And things happen in Klerksdorp, Palabora, Bloemfontein. There's even a pastor, what's his name? I forgot his name. Nkosi, now I forgot his name. I've written it there somewhere, but anyhow. And Pastor Nkosi Sebego from Mamelodi, for example, and things happen in Gauteng. So that made me picture and what's the right word? So I felt a whole lot more part of the book. when I read that, because I've been to all those places I mentioned there. So that was quite something for me. So the book basically starts with the whole book is from the viewpoint of the main character Nico Storm, who is a 13-year-old at the beginning of the book. Here and there, the author was actually very clever. Here and there, he would quote pieces of a journal. So it's about this community that starts after this post-apocalyptic world, and different members of that community throughout the book has pieces of the journal. So that way he could also give you a viewpoint from somebody else. Although the main book is from Nico. Now Nico is a 13-year-old, and he is traveling with his father after his mother is passed away, and this whole world is I mean, there's 95% of the people dead. One of the things that got me in the beginning of the book is how we need each other, because with 95% of the world passed away, there's no law and order. Even something as a dog, and the first part of the book, or there's this whole incident is around dogs, is the dog our friend because we tame them, we keep them tame. But if there are no people, these dogs become a problem, and they are no longer man's best friend.
For that opportunity. All right, as it's been said, my name is Penny Phakathi, and I will be reviewing Soaring to Greater Heights. And this is a anthropology for women across borders, and of which I can say that I am part of the authors that are featured in this book particularly. So this book consists of 10 authors. This is how it looks like. Women Across Borders by Sonia E, Noel. And the authors of the book are right at the back of the book. It's the 10 women that were collaborating on this anthropology. It was quite exciting. It was a great opportunity for me as a South African to get to collaborate with all these great writers, amazing authors who are already experienced. They are all ranging from South America, North America, Caribbean, you name it. So it is such an honor for me to be part of this. So the chapter, amongst others, because all the chapters of these women are so interesting, it actually goes on to say that we have a lot, in fact, there's a lot that is in common. Just because you're based in South Africa, you may think that your problem is an isolated problem, or it's just because you're in South African, or it's because you're an African, but only to find that it's such a universal thing, that most what we go through is actually universal throughout the world. So it's I just want to give an honor to the ladies for great work that has been done. Basically, this, if I may to touch on mine, looking at the time, mine is actually the last, so there's no mistake by me being the last speaker for the day. My chapter of the book is actually the last chapter, which says that single woman, you are enough. This particular chapter looks at the societal pressures that we find ourselves as women, especially African women. And of course, I've learned that it's not really African women that really goes through this. However, it's the pressures of a society where whatever that we may have accomplished, a woman can go to school and study and do well in terms of what they do, but it's still not, we still not seem as complete if we have not been chosen for marriage, which is usually the case. Proposed, isn't that so? I know that the world has changed and people get to do that somehow, but let me just take you through what to say about this chapter. Is that a lot of times accomplishing both still doesn't deem you as accomplished enough until you are married. Failure to reach this ideal is deemed abnormal. I'm sure a lot of ladies may agree with me on this one. And therefore, these tend to put a lot of pressure to most women, that we actually put time and age to say, by this age, I must have got this. And now what happens is that the usual problems that we face within a society where we see that a lot of marriages breaking down because people just go into it through pressure. Not always, of course, it's not always the case. However, this is looking at the conflict between the societal demands and the needs to fulfill the unity desires. It presents itself in a very big turmoil normal to an average woman. And it also leads us to make the pressures of the heart, which are much, kind of oppressing to the self, because we tend to leave the understanding of your person as an individual, and we want to fulfill the expectations of the family members or the societal members, whoever that may have put you in pressure in that regard. So this more tends to tap into that understanding of women, that be more about yourself, understand yourself first, and be at the space whereby you know what is it that you are made or you are called for. And in spite of understanding in terms of understanding the fact that we are still enough, that each and every human being is an assigned human being and is very special in the eyes of the one that created. So you are still enough, and you find that those pressures happen because we tend to look at that particular accomplishment and we think this is what is needed. I'm at this age and the pressure's booming, and some want to still get babies at a particular age, and all those pressures that we find ourselves in. We tend to look at it from the wrong direction, where it's more emphasized, or this book or my chapter emphasize more on understanding of who you are. Do you first identify the greatness and the strength that you have as an ordinary human being, because you may find that in your singleness there is a huge blessing or assignment that is attached to a blessing that could be your path in terms of where you are going, and your path towards your destiny that you may have to fulfill at the end of it all. That you will find that it was because I also realized that it's not all of us that are called for that are called for marriage, and at that time it doesn't mean that you must degrade it. And so when we go on our life and doing what we do, understand that your assignment may be different from your neighbors or your sisters or your cousin or anybody else. So one thing that I also want to highlight basically in this book is one of the
Penny, just another minute or so. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so is that, again, as we tend to get to marriage to escape our unkind world, we're sticking it out even if it's not working. It talks about all those things, and then how do we survive in this pressures. And family believe that it's very important for us to understand and know that the biggest fear that we always run of being single, there is an assignment in it. But once you start tapping into understanding of self and looking into yourself, there's a lot that you can discover. And it goes on giving a quote that if you do not acknowledge or understand your strength, the world will always remind you of your weaknesses.
Thank you very much, Penny. Ladies and gentlemen, we had two speakers this evening who talked about their own books, and to me that is just amazing. So Penny, thank you very much also for sharing what you've written. And let's hear from the audience. If we've got a question for Penny, please put up your hand, or please activate your video so we can ask Penny that question. I'll give about 10 more seconds, and then we'll start with an open discussion.
Sorry, Cornell.
Wendy,
maybe just from my side. Yes, just from my side. Thanks for that, Penny. It was very interesting, and I'm intrigued and want to read the book, especially because you're saying it's from across all nationalities and oceans and stuff. Just my question is, do you see that the challenges of women across all borders are the same? Because you did say it's a group of you that wrote this. Do you find that there's a consistency in all of the challenges that you mentioned across the world? And then secondly, just where can we get the book also, if you can maybe give us those details. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for that question. Of course, that's what I've realized. Reading other stories written by other women, I actually felt like, oh, okay, this is what we experience. This is what we go through. Like the other woman wrote about the power of $1. So she talked about how the brother rescue and how many of us have play parent into our, to our siblings and all of that. It's something that touches all of us. Right? So they are quite similar. You can relate. That's what makes it interesting. And of course, the book for now, it's only obtained through me as if you can follow me on Facebook for now. So I'm not so popular. However, you can follow me as Penny Phakathi on Facebook, and then we can make arrangement in that in terms of how we can get the book.
Okay, now WhatsApp you then, I guess. I don't know if your number is on our WhatsApp group.
Yes. Oh, by the way, yeah, you have, we cannot start
Okay.
something.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy, and also Penny. Thank you so much for that quick answer and also sharing with us. Ladies and gentlemen, if you reviewed a book this evening, I would like to ask you, we've already done it before, but perhaps if someone missed it, if you can just put the title of the book and the author of the book that you reviewed this evening on the WhatsApp group so that they can go and look it up. Google is a wonderful friend. You can go and find those books. I would like to ask Sibongiseni, are you back on the call, sir?
Yes, I am back, Cornell.
Okay, so we've got 1 minute left in this meeting. So I, as the leader of the Visionary Readers Club, I would like to ask you, what would you like to do? Would you like us to quickly go around, each of us just say our names and what are we reading at the moment? Or would you like us to open the session for some more questions if there are perhaps, or would you like to conclude the session? So it's over to you now.
You have the power, says the MC of this event. You have all the powers to decide. So whatever you decide, I'm happy with it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly open the floor. Are there any other questions that we can ask our speakers who shared this evening? If there's a pressing question, a question that you really want to ask. Okay, then if you would allow me, I would like all the attendees just to quickly introduce themselves. We'll do this very quickly, 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It's just so that we know who was in the meeting and we don't feel like we attended something, but I didn't get a chance to speak. So I'll go first. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Cornel van Onselen, as I mentioned, and I'm reading The Greatest Salesman in the World. I think this is my 3rd time reading it. And then from there, I'm going on to The 4 Agreements. I'm also interested in that book. I would like to ask Irene to quickly introduce herself and maybe just say what you are reading at the moment, Irene, very shortly, please.
Yes, very shortly. Okay. Yes, my name is Irene Downer, and I am a prolific reader. I have tons of books, and with my various moves, I have had to give quite a few away. I have still got 5 boxes in the garage, and I have a number of books out. I will post a picture of my current bookcase, which is here where we're sitting. But the book I'm actually reading at the moment is a thriller. I do enjoy thrillers, amongst other things, and it's by a very well-known, a very successful author, David Baldacci. And it's called The Sixth Man. And it's at times it's making my hair stand up. But it's very good and well researched, and there are some marvelous concepts there, which are true. I will share them in due course. Okay.
Thank you, Irene. Sorry, I'm rushing you a bit because I know people's time is precious. Vuyi, what are you reading at the moment, or was that the last book you read and now you've stopped?
No, not at all. I'm also reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's very interesting. I actually thought that I'm going to read about some Chinese wars there, but he takes the concept of the military wars into the boardrooms and into corporates, and the strategies are magnificent and still practical into this day. So it is a must-read, definitely.